Alrighty, hello Algebra students. I'm going to be giving you directions about how to do your Chapter 2 project, and this is going to go through kind of in detail some things that I was seeing on Chapter 1 and stuff that I'd like for you to avoid, as well as going into specific details about how to do some things for this project. So first of all, right here is your new set of directions. You have this in your packet, and your directions are you have to choose one option from vocabulary, one option from problem solving, and one real world application. So notice we have 3 things that you can choose from in vocabulary. Choose one of those. You have 2 things to choose from in problem solving and 3 things to choose from in real world application. Next, you need to make a 9-slide presentation. Please make exactly the amount of slides that I ask for and put them in the order that I ask. And they need to be organized, neat, easy to read and follow, and also creative. So in Chapter 1, the Google Slides that I saw, there were a lot of poorly done slides. So I'm going to show you some things now that I want you to avoid in order to not make similar mistakes as what was done in the last project, but also this is going to be useful across the board. For any presentation that you do, these skills are going to be applicable. So first of all, notice right here, if you have bad contrasting color, so I need to be able to see the words that are on your slide. If you put dark letters on a dark slide, I'm not going to be able to see it. Or if you put light letters on a light slide, I won't be able to see it. So make sure that there's a decent amount of contrast between the color of your words and the color of your background. Also, bad perceptual differences. If your slide is way too busy, like this, or if you have a really large picture in the background and then something small in front of that, it is going to be very difficult for me, the viewer, to make sense of what's going on in your slide. Another issue with the background is some people's backgrounds were far too busy. So you are allowed to have a fun background. You are allowed to have something interesting to look at. What's important is it cannot be distracting or difficult to read from, and it needs to be consistent. So whatever background you choose, it needs to be the same for every single slide. Another issue that I've been having, and this one right over here on the right is probably the most popular. You guys had misspelled words and boring slides. Some people even used you instead of you, or then wrote I instead of I. Note that you need to be mindful of spelling and grammar and proper punctuation. Others made everything lowercase in a run-on sentence, making it very difficult to understand. If you struggle with grammar, then have a parent or friend proofread your project. Don't just give me a white background and make the font interesting but readable, and include a background that is unique but not distracting. So this slide right over here, this is what I got the most often of. Plain white background, everything is misspelled, poor grammar, and it's just boring, okay? So give me a little bit of creativity without being too distracting. You're kind of trying to find a happy medium. Okay, so those are kind of some of the don'ts with presentations. Here's some examples of pictures that I do not want to see. I don't want to see pictures where it's so tiny I can't hardly see what you wrote, or if something is off center, or if you're holding the paper. Make sure that if you're taking pictures, it's flat on a table with good lighting and close up. Or if you have bad or sloppy handwriting. I know this isn't fair to everybody, but you know who you are. If you have handwriting that's difficult to read, then you are going to need to either type your work, or you're going to need to write more slowly in, say, a marker, something that's going to help you write more neatly. So if you have sloppy handwriting, you need to slow down and write neater, or type your work so I can actually read what's going on. Here's some examples of better slides for you. This slide is significantly better because notice how they took a picture. It's close up, I can see it. It's very clear where their left and right columns are. And they have an explanation typed over here to the left. So they only took a picture of the part that was difficult for them to type, and then they typed the rest over here to the left. The only thing that I would change is instead of making this one giant paragraph, maybe breaking it down into bullet points or something like that. Here's another much better example. So this person, they have neat handwriting and they were able to write out their expression and their expression in words. The only thing I would improve about this is maybe fixing the image so that the paper laid flat and it wasn't curved up here and stuff like that. This is another better example. So here they have their typed phrase, both in math symbols and as words. The only things that I would improve on this are some of the formatting down here, make it a little bit more consistent, and maybe the heart could be in a different color or with a white background so the heart contrasted a little bit more with the background. But these slides are much better than the other slides that I was seeing for the majority. Here is an example of a great slide for you. So here we have a title, we have a neat picture, and notice that everything corresponds clearly and concisely. So step A goes with step A. Step B goes with step B, step C goes with step C. The picture is neat, and then everything over here, my justification is typed. I chose an easy to read color and font and size for the title of my presentation, and I chose to use more than just black and white. So this would be an example of a great slide and things that I'm looking for. A neat picture, organized, easy to follow, using a little bit of creativity. So now I want to talk to you about what the project actually asks for. So in the first part, it asked for vocabulary. If you want to do a word cloud, this is what a word cloud is, and you would do this online, and a good place to go would be wordclouds.com. So these are just a couple examples so you know what a word cloud is. Next, what is a mobile? If you choose the mobile option, you have lots of different opportunities for creativity. You can use a, a clothes hanger, or you can make it out of kind of like chopstick looking things. And this one over here is actually just a paper plate cut into a spiral, and then it looks like with ribbon and construction paper on that. So you have lots of options for a mobile. And then on the different danglies, you are going to put vocab words. So if you didn't know what a mobile is, those are different options, and you can also use the internet to help give you ideas for this. Next, what is a vocabulary cube? So right here is kind of an example for you. You would be making up your own definitions for these words, and you would be giving examples and putting a different definition on each side. What would be great is if you have cardboard or something like that that you can kind of tape together and make your cube kind of hardy, and then you can maybe tape paper on top of that or something like that for your actual words. But it's just a cube with a different word on either side. What does it mean to justify my steps? So this is for the second part. I've seen a lot of people, they don't know what that means by justifying their steps. So let's say that we have a problem right here, and I need to explain what I did. So I'm going to say step A was the original problem. I didn't do anything in step A. Step B, notice I distributed this 5 across the parentheses, so that's what I said next to it. I distributed the 5 across the parentheses, and so on and so forth. Justifying your steps is not, I solved the problem, or simplify. That's not a justification, and you should break it down each step at a time and don't skip steps so I can see what work you did. Next, how do I do the at-home option? So let's say that I chose to pick a teddy bear for my first object. It was about 9 inches tall and 6 inches wide. So this is just a generic example for you. If you chose to do the at-home option, then you would choose 3 objects, and on one slide, you would put your first object, and then you would put these answers. If it were 20 inches tall, then it would be blank inches wide. If it were 75 inches tall, then it would be blank inches wide. After that, you need to have images or your typed work on this slide as well. So on the slide with the corresponding object, you should have your answers, an image, and all your work together. And you're going to do that for 3 objects at your house. If instead you choose to do the map destinations object, once again, you're putting an image of the map on there, putting an image of how far it is with your answers, how much gasoline it would cost, and making sure that your picture of your work is neat. Finally, how do you do the banana bread option? So the first slide would be the recipe for the banana bread, which we have here. And then on the next 2 slides, you are going to put how much of each ingredient you would need if you instead used 15 cups of flour. So it would be, I need blank cups of sugar, blank cups of banana, salt, and vanilla, so on and so forth. You can organize this slide differently than I did. You can organize any of these slides differently than I have shown you here. Just make it look nice. This is the way I chose to do it to kind of give you a quick rundown of it. But you're able to use your own creativity in how you feel your presentation will look best and be the highest quality that you can produce. So those are all the how-tos for the project. The last thing I want to talk about is the rubric. Just note that this project is worth 50 points, and it's broken down into completion, your presentation, originality, and correctness. So is your project totally done? Is the presentation nice? So did you use, a nice background? Was it your work consistent? Did it have flow? Were you creative? Were your slides labeled? Was it professional? Originality, this is going to be where you get to incorporate some of your own creativity. So how did you bullet point your work, and how did you decide to organize each slide? What fonts or themes did you use, and colors? And then finally, correctness is 20 points, and that is, did you make any math mistakes or not? So that is the quick and abridged version of everything you need to know for this Chapter 2 project. And of course, if you have questions, you'll be able to bring them to me in class, and I'll help you out as much as I can. Okay, that's it.